Hey Spirits, this is Annie Elliott bringing you another episode of Hey Spirits, the Washington Spirit Podcast. I have with me today, as always, André Carlisle. How are you?
I am good.
There's a lot of good stuff to talk about. Good.
It is. There a lot of very good stuff to talk about. It was looking back at like the overall stats. Like when you're in it, obviously we're not on the pitch, but when you're in the middle of a 3-game week and then you also have the game before the long international break in which 3 games happened as well. And through some of those you were holding your breath. So like when you look back at the Spirit's run of the last 4 games, it's really damn impressive. So I'm like there's like micro stuff to talk about, but then also macro stuff to talk about.
Yes, we'll see how much we can remember after such a busy week. Because we have two wins to talk about, which we never get to do. 2 wins in one episode, my goodness. But we will be talking today about Washington Spirit's 1-0 win over Rahsing Louisville at home, and then their 4-2 win over Orlando Pride in Orlando. I guess we'll just get started, see where it takes us. Rahsing Louisville is up first. I really thought it was going to be a terrible rain delay at Audi Field, and as we'll see, we just pushed it back a couple days. But the starting 11 was essentially the same one they'd done for the 2 previous matches against Bay and Kansas City, which were both victorious. So I think there's a little bit of player availability stuff going on, but I also think Adrian's just kind of like, this is sort of his squad right now. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's good to find a settled 11. Now, obviously, I don't think it's 100% settled. Gabby Carl, she did come on at halftime of this game, which we can talk about, subbing both your fullbacks at halftime, which is a wild thing to do. But I think that you're seeing relationships, you're seeing players get more comfortable with one another. There's a familiarity. And the good news is, and we'll probably talk about this as well, maybe even for the Orlando game, is that it's not one of those things where there's a set 11 and that's where the sole focus is completely. Like everybody else that gets in the game kind of disrupts the team. It's like they sit on the sidelines, they realize what's working, what's not, and they plug in when they sub in, and you don't see a big drop off. In fact, sometimes you see something a little bit different coming from the team, which again, I'm getting ahead of myself. But I like the fact that we're finding that Adrian is finding a settled 11 for the most part, and that those relationships are developing, and you can see the players trusting each other on the pitch quite a bit.
I agree. I like to see a little movement, a little variation in the starting 11, but I don't know. They just needed some consistency this year, so I think this is fine for now. Like it's having the desired result.
Also, there are about 900 games to play, so it will happen.
Yes, I'm looking forward to these Conca Champs games later in the month, actually. But
yeah.
All right. So this game, I think the one big event really happened in the 15th minute, which was Trinity Rodman's goal. Do you want to talk about it? You want me to talk about it?
I'll talk about it just because I'm a big fan of what, like when Trinity Rodman first started with the Spirit, she could play right or left. That wasn't really a problem. Obviously, when she played on the right, she was a bit more of a wide creative force, whipping in long crosses, things like that. She kind of kept like the chalk on the boots. When she played on the left, it was more about cutting inside so she could shoot on her right because that was her strongest foot. And her right-footed shot was the best opportunity for her to get the ball in the back of the net. That's no longer the case. She can get the ball in the back of the net with her left foot. She can play narrow on the right and the left. What I like to see is how she's transforming her game to be able to have even more of an impact running in from the weak side, the left side, when the ball is on the right. If you watch her run, this is like pure striker movement on this. She attacks the fullback. I think it's the fullback hard on the left, like she's going to run out on her outside, and then she cuts in front. That's how you create space in those transition situations, by dragging a player by just the direction of your run and then changing it really quickly. all the off-ball stuff that the Spirit are doing is really fascinating and really fun to see. I went on that rant about Claudia and her first goal last time we talked, but when you see some of these things happen, the passing and the goals or the tap-ins look easy, but it's a lot of work that's happening away from the ball that's allowing these things to happen. And so I think you just go back and check out Trent's run. It's incredible. It's one of those things that I don't know if she would have done maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. It's kind of like just like dart to the spot, get in the way, but she made a lot of space for herself with that run. And then of course, just the 1-2 touch play from Cantore and Kawasi was just outrageous. I mean, that was fun. Just tore their defense apart by just passing in between each other up the pitch. And I love the little pass from Cantore to Rodman, and then a really clean finish as well, which I think we know she can do, but just so great to see her with confidence and putting the ball in the back of the net consistently, which again is a theme.
Yeah, I think Rodman and Cantore are two we're going to be talking about quite a bit for both of these games, because I think Cantore is somebody who's developed a lot this year and since she came to the Spirit too. And I know you talked to Adrian, I believe, after the Rahsing game about kind of her developing hold-up play and just shifting her, I guess not developing hold-up play, but just becoming more versatile in addition to just adjusting to like the speed of the league. Because I was somebody who, for a lot of these games, I was like, well, why isn't Gift Monday starting? But I think we're seeing a lot more from Sofia Cantore. A little bit squashing together the games, which is going to happen, but she was saying after the second game that she's never really been a big goal scorer, that like I think striker is not really what she considers her main role. So she is kind of looking more for the assist, which I don't know how many she had last year. I don't remember, but I feel like she has been looked to at the Spirit more for goals, but I think she also really, really likes the assisting part of the game, and being able to help teammates do well and help the overall team to a win instead of being so focused on goals herself. So I liked in this game that she got that chance to make a really good assist, have that good interplay with Rose Kawasi and Trinity Rodman. Just great relationships developing and paying off now at this point in the season.
Yeah, last year I just looked it up. Was 4 goals and 1 assist, and so this year she's already at 3 goals and 1 assist. So she's doing quite well. Yeah, I do think it's funny how she keeps insisting that she's not a goal scorer. It's very funny. I think she's sitting next to Tara when she said that, and Tara was just looking at her like, what? And she's like, no, it's true, it's true. But what we know of her is her long range bangers, her back flicks in the goal. Like she has a lot of movement in the box that's very good. She has the ability to shoot long range, obviously, which is really good. But she said, like, I'm more of a winger. Like, that's what I've done. But I just think that to me is what speaks to somewhat of the difference between European style of soccer and NWSL style of soccer, where you very rarely have that, 20 goal scorer central forward. That's kind of if you're a really good team, typically like Barcelona and Eva Payor, Manchester City and Bunny Shaw, when Chelsea was rolling, Sam Kerr was right there, with all the goals. Like, that's the player that scores all the goals. But you don't really have a lot of that in the NWSL. I mean, think about how Chwenga plays, really coming in from the left. She's not really a center forward. Barbara Banda plays wide as well. She can be put out there, like listed as a forward, but she likes to come wide as well and pick up the ball. You think about even like a player like Emma Sears. Obviously, she's very much a wide player. So like the NWSL is just different, and part of that is just the transitional nature of the game. And so really shout out to the Spirit Scouts who saw her winger skill set in Europe and said she can really translate to be a quality number 9, whether she's scoring 20 goals or not. We know she has the ability to run, to make those runs wide, to collect the ball, get on the ball, and then use the ball creatively to create chances for others. And of course, you see that she can score herself when she needs to or wants to, which, again, keep leaking over into the other game. But normal goals were scored, and that was also a fun theme of talking with her post-game. But yeah, I like the fact that she's insistent on, I'm not a goal scorer, but she scores goals, and she also can create goals, which honestly, the way the Spirit attack, like the Spirit attack looks so different. So different than what it looked like in the first 2 or 3 games of the season. And a lot of that is the players being more comfortable with one another and knowing each other's tendencies. When they make this run, what space is open? Where do I need to be? How do I support this player when they've received the ball wide? All of that stuff, they're figuring it out. So no more of the remember the game against was it against Denver in front of the 60 whatever thousand people where Rodman just had the ball and she just stood there for like 10 seconds and then just kicked it backwards. We don't see any more of that. Like they know what to do now, and it's really cool and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I thought of that game after this one because Rodman was talking about getting some confidence back and playing with more, I think just with more joy. And like that, she said, I think that like the relationship between the essentially 4 attackers who've been playing together, her, Cantore, Kwasi, and Lacey Santos, has developed to a point where like they hang out off the pitch, they get along well on there. When somebody misses a chance, they're laughing, they're not getting frustrated with each other the way she in particular was in that match, but I think everyone was very frustrated. And I think that goes to you saying, with the same group starting, we're seeing these relationships develop and they are more forgiving with each other. I think that makes them play better together.
Yeah, it is interesting to hear Rodman talk about how the off pitch is so important to the on pitch. I mean, you kind of, we see how close the team has been over the years. She's obviously been a central character on the team and very like there's a lot of gravity towards her on the team, but she's a player on a team and she wants to feel comfortable. She wants to like enjoy her teammates. You see the social media posts and how much she loves even teammates who are no longer here. Like there's this unity within the group that I think is really important. And when you're playing for each other, you trust each other. I mean, this is the reason why I love soccer so much is that you have to be connected as a unit of players. Obviously one player can stand out quite a bit, but one player typically, unless they're like Lionel Messi or something, one player which even, not to talk broso on the podcast, but even they took blew a 3-goal lead recently. But I think the way that I think about the sport and the things that I like to see about the sport are players sharing a common goal and a way to get there and being unselfish about it. To me, that produces the best soccer, especially when you talk about attacking play, because then players make runs for one another, whether they get the ball or not. And it doesn't really matter who scores or who puts the ball in the back of the net. It's about generating the best possible chance. And I love to see a team that is so like connected with each other, which I think you can fake some of it. I think in terms of like, just the talent and the skill are the things that's more important on the pitch in those particular moments. But I think when you see a team that really likes each other, that really likes playing the game with each other, you see so many other things happen on the pitch that are really hard to stop because they're moving as a unit. They're understanding each other and what they want to do. And I think we're seeing a lot of that with the Spirit now, where they finally have developed some relationships and on and off the pitch. And you can see how it's working, and it's just fun. Like I don't, it's trying not to like, I want to analyze the performance, but I also don't want to overanalyze it. But also I'm just like blanket team's fun, period. Team's very fun to watch right now.
I feel like I'm going to be getting ahead of things again with this one. But like just talking about fun, I've seen people, and this is the Trinity Rodman conversation. Because she signed a huge deal, that naturally creates haters who are out there ready to say, well, she didn't score this game. The team lost. The team hasn't won in 4 games. What is Trinity Rodman doing? Is she actually cooked? Was she worth it? And I think the fun is part of it. That's so much of what she brings to a game. And clearly she was struggling with that in the beginning of the year, but it's back and she's performing well. She has been the whole time. I mean, I think I've mentioned that before, that like some of that criticism is unfair because the whole team was struggling with finishing, including her. She would have had a lot of assists, a lot more goals if everyone on the team had been scoring. But it was just a team-wide problem. But so now I think she's got that confidence, she's got that fun, and that's what makes people want to watch the Spirit, is that they are fun. that it's like they're inviting to watch. The fans really connect with them. And so I think it's not just the success, but also the feeling that that you get from those players. And obviously at this point, Trinity Rodman is a huge part of that culture. So
Would you say that in a very real sense, Trinity Rodman is Greenland? I do think like a lot of that overblown, right? You don't need to, not to give a lot of oxygen to any of that like hating or whatever. The whole thing was, if she's healthy and on the pitch, we know how good of a player she is. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. I think I saw the graphic for that the NWSL posted, which she's the youngest player to 30 goals and 20 assists. I've been saying like she's one of those players that can hit 10 goals, 10 assists in a season. It's never been done in the NWSL. I think she can do it. She has that type of skill, and she is that good. So to me, it was never a conversation about, is she good? Is she washed? Is she worth the money? Hell yeah, she's worth the money. The question was, can she stay on the pitch, right? Given her back issues and some of the other injury issues that she had. And she put in a lot of work. I think we've talked a lot about the journey that she's had with her game, how to make sure she can stay on the pitch and trying to carve out some of the reckless things that she would do that would tax her body unnecessarily. And I think we're seeing a more mature, more refined Trinity Rodman. She's picking her moment. She's not getting super frustrated when she just doesn't get the ball all the time. She's doing a lot of off-ball work to make sure, like, it's difficult. Like, when you're running without the ball, you have a lot of decisions that you can make. And unless a player is going to foul you off the ball, which is almost always going to guarantee a yellow card, then you're able to make a lot of movements and do a lot of things off the ball, whether it's pressing, defensively, or whether it's in transition in attack, or even in, standard like half field play, like in the attacking half play, all your off ball stuff. But when you constantly have the ball at your feet and you're trying to create, you open yourself up to all those duels, all those challenges. Sometimes a foul's called, sometimes it's not, and you just absorb a lot more punishment. And so we're seeing with the development of her off-ball movement that she's being able to have a massive impact without having to always nutmeg this player, cut back, dribble around this player, unleash a shot from the top of the box with your left foot, curl it far post. Like, those are great. She can still do those, but that's not the only way she can generate a chance. And yeah, I'm really happy for her that she's gotten to this point. It was, and obviously back injuries and stuff like that are never like, you're never gonna be like, oh, cured, everything's great. But you can see how she's being really smart on the pitch, and she's still having an impact. And I think it's giving her a lot of confidence in how she can still impact a game without needing the ball at her feet, which is something that is, a next level thing to learn. But the fact that she, again, this is a player who picks things up so quickly. Like, watching her from her rookie season, the growth is outrageous. And it took about an off season and obviously some injury struggles to figure out, like, I can be impactful in other ways. I can do these in different ways. And it's been really awesome to see. So yeah, the haters are struggling, I think, because this was never a question about her talent. It was always a question for me about, injury prevention. But if you have a chance to sign Trinity Rodman, you sign Trinity Rodman. I think that's something that every single team with the ability to sign Trinity Rodman would do and say. There's no question or debate. So those conversations were really silly because that was never the discussion. That was never the point to try to make. We know the talent that she has. She's an incredible, incredible player, one of the best that the U.S. has produced. And you can say that already, and she's still very young.
I agree. I'll clarify. I was not one of the doubters. I think this is known.
I mean, I don't think any one of us were. I mean, the questions that we had was just injury and can she, when she's on the pitch, what version of Trinity Rodman are we going to see? Because she was not going to be able to do the things that she did in the past. That's not going to lead to a 10 plus year career. And she started so young that would have been tragic if not the case. Right. But now we're seeing that she can adjust her game and still have a massive impact on games.
All right. I want to get us to a little more Louisville talk because I know that the other game had so much going on. I guess, do you want to talk about the fullback swap? It was fun to do. They just totally, like you said, Chida Guglielmo and Kate Wiesner started at halftime, subbed him out for Gabby Carl and Paige McKver, both of whom I thought played great. Paige almost scored. She had a really sick cross that should have been scored on. I'm excited to see her get some more time.
Yeah, when you talk about trust, subbing both your fullbacks against Emma Sears is a wild decision. I get why it happened. I think you needed, 3 games in about a week. And I did bring this up to Adrian, and again, touching on post of the Orlando game, but this team faced Chewinga, Sears, and Banda basically in a week. And we know what Banda did, and we'll talk about it. But Emma Sears was quiet. Timwa Chewinga was quiet. Like, Chewinga had that one moment where she cut across the box and it looked like she was going to score, but they handled that as well. And then there wasn't a ton of danger after that. Emma Sears was very quiet in this game. And I thought that was really impressive given how difficult she was to handle in the game they played against Louisville earlier. And we also know what Emma Sears can do. And so I thought that, even though it was a wild decision, I don't know if I would have had the guts to sub both my fullbacks against Emma Sears, especially when you're like, okay, we've got her contained. What am I going to do now? Oh, just sub both my fullbacks. That doesn't sound great, but it worked. And I think it was just more of a result of how the defense is working so well right now. It's communication, it's organization. They're covering for each other. It's almost like just as creative as the attack needs to be. Like you transfer that to organization and understanding how and where like gaps are in a defense and who's going to plug those, and when they go to plug that hole, how do you support them? How do you cut off other passing angles and limit options? They're doing that in defense as well. And I think like I wish I could just I brought it up. Let me just go ahead and look it up because I want to see Emma Sears' numbers on the game, because they were 5 out of 10 passes, 50%. She only took 10 passes, is wild. 0 chances created. She had 31 touches. This is according to FOTMob. Only 2 touches in the box. 0 out of 3 successful dribbles. Didn't have a single successful one. Only 3 passes into the final third. Only 1 attempted cross, and it was not successful. So 0% on her crossing. That's unheard of when it comes to Emma Sears. That is not the way that she really ever looks. That's kind of a wild stat line to force her into, especially when you just swap your fullbacks in the middle of the game. So yeah, massive trust from Adrian and a massive way to step up for the fullbacks that came into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gabby said something about like, I'm pretty familiar with Emma Sears at this point. So she was pretty confident. She knows how to handle her.
That is wild. Quite honestly, yes, familiar, but she's still a lot of players in this league are familiar with Emma Sears, and it doesn't mean that she doesn't run by them on a consistent basis.
But either way, I do agree. I think the Spirit, like, they did a good job in this game, really minimizing any chances at all for Rahsing Louisville. I think they had 0.4 overall expected goals. I'm seeing 0.41 on FOTMob.
Yeah.
1 shot on target. They had 1 hit the woodwork.
Yeah.
But yeah, the defense. I'll table one of my thoughts on that for the next game because I want to save some things. But yeah, I think the defense has been performing really well this year. I do agree with that. And then another big thing I want to talk about with this game is the other substitution that was a big deal was Andi Sullivan returning to Audi Field, getting on the pitch for the first time in, we were told, 19 and a half months since she last played. She got out there. She did great. I think Adrian essentially said like it wasn't necessarily planned time-wise, but for what she was going to be able to bring to the game, which was a little patience, a little leadership to kind of see things out, continue preventing chances. Very similar to what she provided in the next game, which that one I think an even better performance from her, but we will talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I felt it somewhat sad after the game where Andi was like, I wasn't sure if the fans were going to remember me. And I'm like, Andi, what are you talking about? You're still like, it's been a long time. What'd you say, 19 months?
Yeah, 19 and a half.
Yeah, that's outrageous. And I did talk to her after the game. Like, people know she had a baby, but sometimes I think people forget that she took on, because she's Andi, and this is just the way she is, she took on recovering from a torn ACL and pregnancy, which is just an outrageous decision. But listen, if you're going to have the time, go ahead. check them both off the list. But it was kind of outrageous, and she talked about it not being as straightforward as recovery was before, obviously for obvious reasons. But it took some time, and she had to be patient with herself. She had to be patient. She said the training staff had to be patient with her because she was like, pushing, but like she went through so much, and I think it's so great to see her come back and get on the pitch and to hear what Adrian said about her and why he wanted her in this game, because we saw that and we know that games against Louisville can get chaotic and can get broken really quickly because it's part of their game plan. It's what they want to do. It's how they play. And he turned to Andi in that moment to kind of settle the game down, like calm it down, make the smart decisions on the ball. Don't let them do what they do and kind of bait you into playing this transitional game, because that's going to make things like it plays into their hands. It's how they play. They're more comfortable in it than we are. You have the talent that can do it, but that's like their plan A. It's like the Spirit's plan C, if that. And so I thought it was really great. He talked about her being almost like an assistant coach on the pitch. He can just kind of tell her some things, and she goes on the pitch and just kind of does them and organizes the team in the way that he wants them to react. And so I just thought that relationship is just really cool to see. And I love the fact that she's back. She's back at Audi. I love the crowd pop that she got, even though the weather didn't quite allow for the full 19,000, a sellout. There was still, I think, still over 10 that were there from the official attendance, which was pretty decent for a Wednesday night and a game that looked like it was just going to be waterlogged and maybe even delayed, but glad it was not. So yeah, I loved seeing Andi back, loved talking to her after the game, and yeah, her intelligence on the pitch and ability on the pitch, vital.
Yeah, I remembered I did have my notes close by, and so because I also was really struck by that. It was when she was asked about the crowd response to her coming on, on the field for the first time. She said, "It was really special for me to hear that excitement coming onto the field. I was wondering if that would still be there for me, because there are so many exciting players on the team and so many new fans." Just was like, I'm not the favorite anymore. A lot of the new fans may not know me. Of course, in my opinion, ridiculous. Like there's still the core fans. I think people still know Andi Sullivan, and I think the new people who don't, they will learn quickly. I think it's hard. They have so many good defensive midfielders on this team, but I think she's going to play a bigger and bigger role as the season goes on, because yeah, she just is such a valuable player.
I'll say this though, because she's not wrong in terms of how much the Spirit have grown since the last time she was on the pitch, because it was a long time ago. Like the Spirit now, if they have a regular season game at home at Audi, decent weather, you can pretty much expect it to be close to sold out. And that wasn't always the case, especially a few years ago. There, the crowd was good, but the crowd has definitely grown and been sustainable. But I would, and so not to gatekeep. We don't have time to get into everything about Andi Sullivan that makes her a special player and human. But I will say that if you're a new fan, welcome. Love it. Love that you're here. Love that you're here with the team. Love that you found us. But also find an OG and ask them about Andi Sullivan. Because I think anybody who's followed the team since she got there, at least, and even people who have followed the team since before she got there, ask them about Andi Sullivan and the impact that she had and the person that she is. And they will probably talk for 20 to 30 minutes straight, but listen to every word because it's true and it's real. So welcome, glad to have you. But Andi is an absolute legend, and it's so cool to see her back.
All right, I think we got to move on. So let's take just a little break, and then we'll talk about the Orlando Pride game. Spirit won 1-0. We already said that. Break. That's all going to be on this YouTube video, I bet. No.
Probably.
No.
I'll trim some of the pause. Your little "this is the break dance." That's gonna have to stay. We need subscribers.
Okay. I guess that's not what they're here for. Okay. Saturday night. Well, it's supposed to be Saturday afternoon, but of course this is the game where that lightning and thunder caught up with the Spirit. It started about 97 minutes late in Orlando, and I think we have overall thoughts at the beginning, but I don't think we're gonna do it like that. We've been chatty enough. We'll be fine. But we finally have a little different of a starting 11. I guess I'll read through this one. We've got Sandy McKver in goal. Back line of Gabby Carl, who's back in that lineup. Esme Morgan, Tara McKeown, and Lucia de Guglielmo. Midfield of Rebecca Bernal, Hal Hirschfeld, and Lacey Santos. And then a front three of Trinity Rodman, Sofia Cantore, and in her first NWSL start, Claudia Martínez. I think this was a little bit impacted by, needing to make rotation. But what did you think of this very lightly altered starting 11?
If I can be somewhat selfish, I guess is the word. I'm mad that I didn't say on the pod that I felt a Claudia Martinez start coming, because I did, but I just didn't say it because I didn't want to put that pressure even on her, which pressure from this podcast, whatever. But I didn't say it, and I'm mad that I didn't say it because I felt like this was the perfect game to give her. The only question was, away at Orlando, a tough opponent, a tough defensive opponent, do you want to throw her in that or not? But I think she had shown previously that she was ready for it, and getting that first goal out of the way felt like, okay, yeah, she's someone you can trust, if at least for a half, but she played longer than that. So yeah, I was excited to see her get her start. I thought it was definitely time for her to get in the starting lineup, given the games that they had. Again, 1 week, these tough games, were difficult. But I love seeing her in the game, and I love seeing Gabby Carl also in the lineup. We've been kind of waiting to figure out when she might be available to finally get minutes, and she got minutes against Louisville and then ends up in the starting lineup, which I think was awesome to see as well, and went full 90 in this one too, which was cool.
Yeah, I think she's still been dealing with a little lingering injury, even though she has been available for the past several games. So I think they were kind of ramping her back up. I don't know if that will impact, a fully rested starting 11 or not. We'll have to see. But I agree. I like to see Gabby, and obviously Claudia had a good game. Things start out great in this game, I would say. Sofia Cantore, we already talked about a little bit, got 2 goals in the first 6 minutes. Wow. Trying to remember. Okay, we gotta describe the first 2. They were both Rodman assists. I think the first one was started by Hal Hirschfeld winning the ball in midfield. This is minute number 2. Spirit passed it around. I think Bernal, Rodman, Santos are all involved in this passing sequence. Rodman finally sees an opportunity and passes it, kind of scooping little pass over the back line for Martinez to grab it. And not Martinez, Cantore to grab it. It is a shot from distance, but I think not her usual kind of crazy banger shot. This is a little more normal. Really just right outside the box, and scores right away. Excitement is high.
Yeah, I was this is a hell of a start. Not what I expected from this game at all. But then, Cantore does that, and you're like, and I will say, even though it was not 40 yards out or 35 yards out like we're used to seeing her hit goals, still not really all that normal to score from outside of the box. So I still don't really count this as a normal goal. But as soon as I saw her wind up from that close, I was like, oh yeah, if that's on target, that's in the net. Just the way that and remember when we talked to Sandy and did our interview with Sandy, and she said that Sophia's shot is so hard to save because it moves so much. Look at her striking technique. And I think it's the goal to watch, to see that. If you see the reverse angle, she does that thing where she basically strikes across the ball. So the ball looks like it's heading towards the keeper, and then it veers hard to the right and it starts diving down. And yeah, once you saw that shot and knew it was on target, that's one of those that you don't save, especially with the power that she gets on. So yeah, I thought it was a tremendous start. I did not expect that at all. And then I expected even less what happened 4 minutes later.
Well, I think before that, Barbara Banda makes a play. I think that it was saved. Made a cross to Sullivan Washington, which that was a confusing name to hear throughout the broadcast. But Sandy McKver saved it, just really in that transition moment. Lacey Santos got the ball, passed to Rodman, who found Sofia Cantore. I think this is a little bit of a pride defensive error. Just they did not know she was there, really. Just running off their back shoulder, gets the ball, gets into the box, and is able to totally get around Anna Morehouse and shoot from within the box this time. Not back heel, Is this one your normal goal that you're looking for?
This, I mean, quite honestly, it's funny, but like I prefer the bangers. Like I'm here for it, but it's just funny how she's almost been apologetic about scoring bangers. But yeah, this was a normal goal. This was round the keeper, open net, just make sure you hit the target and you got yourself a goal. But yeah, I love the movement on this. This is kind of what we were talking about in the previous segment about Sophia and the runs that she's making and seeing that transition from winger in Europe to central attacker, playmaker in the NWSL. She really had to make sure that she curved her run so that she was onside. So you had to basically like run back across the line and then, curve it back around. And she wasn't making all of those movements, probably even a season ago, trying to understand where the space was. She would just kind of dart straight forward, and she's figuring out like how to manipulate the back line and also where the space is. So curling the run in behind the defender, but then going back out into the space and making it easier to receive a pass, an easier angle to receive a pass. And I think Rodman is starting to trust her. She must be seeing a lot of these runs a ton in training and know that if I pass the ball quickly, she's onside and she's going to get to the ball. Because at first it just looked like a hopeless, just like clip the ball behind the line because the press is intense and there's nowhere else to go. And then you're like, nope, there's Cantore. That was very much planned. So, but definitely in my book, a normal goal. And she finally got one, which was very funny to talk to her post game about that because she was like, yes, finally.
This was indeed a very exciting start, but unfortunately, I think this whole the rest of the half is where you see the heavy legs, the very limited time to prepare for this specific game after Wednesday. Like Adrian kept saying, like, oh, in less than 72 hours between games, which was not much. I tried to ask about their schedule. I don't think I got the full thing, but it was like have a little bit of training on Thursday, maybe watch a little tape, but I think they probably traveled Friday. The game was scheduled for Saturday afternoon. That's basically no time to adjust tactics or do anything you need to do for Orlando specifically. And they didn't really have many opportunities after this in the first half.
Yeah, once it's tough because I talk a lot in my newsletter about like game state and how important that is to a game. And I think that's like super key when especially when you score two early goals, you have a cushion there and you can kind of dictate the way the game is played and slow things down. And, you get to do that. But sometimes the opposition says no. And you have to figure out how to do it. And I think the Spirit scored so quickly that they didn't have time to solve Orlando's press except for get the ball behind the line. But when you couldn't do that because they had the ball, that was now, okay, what do we do? And so I think they got caught in that weird spot where they hadn't settled, they haven't figured out how Orlando's going to attack, how Orlando's going to press, and how they can manipulate it to keep the ball or to attack them themselves eventually, throughout like build up and possession. And so you didn't see that. And the result was Barbara Banda. She got plenty of opportunities. She caused a lot of chaos, and the game was pretty broken for the majority of it. I mean, you did see the Spirit were trying still to like hit them because that was the thing they knew that worked, but they needed to slow Orlando down, and they just weren't able to figure that out, which is another maybe, learning point for the teams. Like, glad that, and we'll talk about this as well, like Andi played that role again with this team, is like calming them down, helping them just get to the finish line of a game without like keeping the pressure minimal. But I also think at some point you do need like the players who are on the pitch to be able to do some of that themselves. Like it is a special thing that Andi can do, but you just want to also see them grow. So that's kind of the next thing. We're the team's growing and developing. And so we talked about a bunch about chance creation, kind of there, goal scoring not there. Now we're seeing chance creation definitely there, goal scoring there. And now it's time to figure out like, okay, when you get an early lead like that, how do you still keep calm and make sure that you can manipulate the other team and not succumb to some of the things that they ended up succumbing to, which again, it's some of that, and some of that is third game in almost a week up against a player like Barbara Banda. Yeah. that's a really difficult scenario, especially because Orlando did not play midweek. They had a whole week to train for this game and rest and prepare for this game as well.
All right, I think I do have some positive things to say before we get to Banda's 2 goals, because what precedes them but a penalty kick?
Well, yeah, that did happen.
I forgot that it was first. So, what I don't remember the exact play leading up to it, but Barbara Banda in the box. She was trying to get the ball. Esme Morgan, I think, was trying to clear it and hit Banda with her foot. It was probably officially a kick, but like, it's the side of the foot. It's in the back. It was a little soft for a foul, but it is what it is. It's in the box. It's contact.
We have to be a true pundit, like punditry, soccer punditry. Okay, Annie, we have to do this. This is what you must do. Was it a penalty or not? We need your definitive, cemented opinion, backed up by bravado.
Okay.
And yelling.
I don't think it should have been called, but I don't think you can overturn it.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I always think about these things from the standpoint of if it happens in a scenario like with a team that I'm rooting for, or that I want to have that scenario work out in their favor, how would I feel about it? I think I would feel like, oh, it's harsh to take that penalty away after you gave it because there is contact. But I also hate it. Like, I don't think that's a need where you need to point to the spot in that situation. I don't think it's one of those, egregious looking. The ref was right there. I don't think it's egregious. I don't think it's one of those things where you can tell that there was no attempt to get to the ball or play the ball. And I even think, like, if that happens in the middle of the pitch, it's 50-50 on whether that's even a foul or not. I don't think, like, some people just say, oh, if it's a foul anywhere, it's a penalty if it's in the box. I get that. I also think you need to be judicious with some of that, too, because a penalty is such a massive change to the game. Like, again, I've talked about this a ton, but a penalty is such an advantage to the team. Like, everybody's trying to work out the best way to give themselves the best chance of putting the ball in the back of the net. And when you have a scenario where somebody gets a 76 to 78% chance of scoring a goal, that's really distorting the game. And yes, it's meant to be a harsh punishment for a defense to make sure that they don't do those sorts of things in the box so that attackers can, like, the play can be more free and open. But this wasn't one of those things where I felt like Esme did anything really except try to clear a ball and get to a ball first. And it wasn't one of those where you see somebody like violently kick the bottom of a player's boot or kick them in the stomach or the side of the leg or whatever. It was just like sticking your foot out trying to get it. And I guess her leg is a little too long, and that's why it was called. It's like, I don't like that being the bar for a penalty.
This also has unfortunately reminded me there was a penalty in the other game that we forgot that got called back against Rahsing Louisville. Hal was redeemed. Her tackle was clean.
How did we forget to talk about that? Because Hal was on one after that.
Yes, she really was. And I actually saw a TikTok video where the person was saying, like, but actually there was contact that was pushing the player off the box or off the ball in the box after Hal hit the ball away. I'm like, no, shoulder to shoulder is not a foul. We can't be doing this. So that was clean. Hal was rightfully redeemed, and she had a great game against Louisville. Back to the positivity for this game. That Sandy McKver. She's the person I wanted to table from conversation one to talk about in the context of this game because she saved Ali Lamos's penalty kick. I believe she had 7 saves in the Orlando game. Just one against Rahsing Louisville, but that's because she was doing so well to come out and claim the ball before they could even get a shot off. I think we've talked about it, I think maybe all of April. She's just grown so much in confidence and been such a solid, like, commanding of her area keeper. And I'm just really happy for her and really happy to have this kind of performance on the team.
Yeah, it was a really good penalty save. I think some people were more frustrated at the penalty, but I think you pick your spot, you run up, you try to hit your spot. And Sandy just read that was the spot that she picked, and she made sure she couldn't hit it. So I do think she hit it at a comfortable height. If she goes lower or higher, maybe Sandy can't get down or up enough to block it. So it was a comfortable height. But I still think that it was a tremendous read and a tremendous save. And this is where I get to go on my rant again about when a goalkeeper saves a penalty, that should be it. Dead ball, goal kick. That's it. I don't like the fact that play continues after that just because, like I said before, it's such a big advantage to give a penalty kick. And so it's almost like play turns into like Australian rules football. You ever seen that? Where they just like throw the ball in the middle of the pitch and then everybody just runs around? Like it creates a completely chaotic and unnatural situation. I'm sure there's more to the game than that, but whatever. That's what I saw.
Apologies to our Australian listeners.
It's fun to watch. I will watch it from time to time, but like I don't get it. But yeah, I just think it's unnatural. It changes things, and I'm not really. I don't like it. I wish there was more. I wish there was a way to stop the situation and say that in itself is the play, and whether it's a goal or it's not, the play ends after that. And so, obviously it sounds like I'm complaining because the corner after we know what happened, but like I've had this stance for years.
You may have converted me because this one was so frustrating. McKver makes the save, but because the ball then goes out, Orlando gets a corner on their unsuccessful penalty kick. And yes, Barbara Banda pretty quickly converts it. I don't know who headed the ball down in the box, but she was able to, I learned a new term, pin and spin. She gets her back to
They
Esme
said that
Morgan.
so much on the broadcast.
I know. Really, I think it's that she's got her back to Esme Morgan, who's right in front of Sandy McKver, who really, I think neither of them could really move in the right way to stop it, and is able to just receive the ball and turn to her, I guess that's a turn to your left, so that she's now open to their right, just put the ball into the goal with nobody there. Yeah, I don't know what they could have done on that one. Probably have someone in front of her. But Barbara Banda, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's a Banda special. It's what she does. She's very good at doing that, and I do think that like as much as the broadcast talked about it, pin and spin and all of that, it's true. She gets you on your back and she's able to control the ball so well when the ball comes to her. Even in the chaos of a corner kick situation, she can still control it, and she's so quick to make her decisions that you don't have time to react. So not only did she control the ball quickly, but she turned and shot the ball very quickly. And so when that happens, it's almost indefensible, which is one of those things that makes her a consistent goal scorer, because she has a rare ability to put defenders in situations where she does things so quickly and so well that it just maximizes the chances of her scoring a goal, and that the defense can't react. So sometimes you just got to say, damn it, that's a really good player doing a really good thing. And that's what it felt like. The fact that it came so soon or right after the penalty save was frustrating. And to not move on, because I had to get my rant out, but to not move on from your Sandy point, 7 saves, yes, 2 goals conceded, yes, but she faced 3.52 worth of XG shots on target. So basically that's like post-shot XG. So from the shots that were there, you would anticipate an average keeper, or the average, not average keeper, but the average of those shots turning into goals was a 3.52. So that's how many goals from the chances they got from the strikes that were put on goal. And she prevented 1.5. So basically a whole goal plus another half, which whatever, if you want to round up, go for it. But I think she was really, really impressive in that way, coming out to claim the ball as well. She had 14 ball recoveries. We saw her come out of the box quickly a lot of times as well, just to make sure that nothing could happen. She was on her line when she needed to be. I just think she's having such a smart approach to goalkeeping, and like you said, commanding as well. I think when corners come in, we're no longer seeing a ton of like flapping or punching, or the ball just kind of bounces around in the box or anything like that. You have to be pretty precise, like Orlando unfortunately was, to create a second chance opportunity. But I do think that she's been super, super good at a lot of these situations. And yeah, she's been, like, again, as with most of the team, light years from where they were in the first 2-3 games of the season.
And really remaining good with her feet, as we knew she would. But, I think that she's grown more, I think, in the other areas, but I wanted to mention that too. I'm sure this is not just an Aubrey thing, but I really kind of associate it with Aubrey of liking to play with any attacker by just like letting the ball sit on the ground for as long as humanly possible to get an attacker to run at it and then go, I think I'm going to pick it up, actually. So she's doing a lot of that. sometimes makes me a little nervous, but it's been smooth sailing so far. So you mentioned it, so why don't you just tell us about this next Barbara Banda goal 4 or 5 minutes later?
Yeah, the next Barbara Banda goal was unfortunate again, but you kind of, again, the great player doing great thing. So sometimes this will happen. And I think that one of the things that we talked about with Esme Morgan was the physicality, being able to hold up. But against a player like Barbara Banda, that's like there aren't too many defenders that can hold up against her in that situation. But I also think that, and I think broadcast went back to this and showed as well that it was kind of a combination of Esme and Tara that allowed this to happen. This time, when you see the ball come in, it's not from a set piece or anything. It's across from open play that gets into the box, and it's kind of like a cutback. And Esme is following Banda. Banda kind of does a quick push off move to create some separation from Morgan, and then receives the cutback. And then again, she just is so quick with her movement that it doesn't give Tara time to get behind Esme to be able to block any potential shot or anything that's coming after that. And so Tara was a little bit late, but you would almost have to be like Naomi Girma style in terms of your clairvoyance of what's happening on the pitch to be able to get yourself in that position. I still think she could have reacted a little bit sooner, seeing how the play was developed, and there wasn't really anybody for her to mark in that particular moment. You have Hal in the box. I think you have Lucia in the box as well. Like, you have players in the box to help you out far post. And so I do think that getting over a little bit more would have helped eliminate some of the space that Barbara had to shoot into. But again, this all happens so quickly. If you watch it, we're kind of like, if you're analyzing something like this, you're analyzing it from, what could somebody have done and what would have prevented this. But in real time, again, it's Barbara Banda being Barbara Banda. I don't know how many other players are able to do exactly what she did on both those goals. And it just kind of shows why she's an absolutely elite player, but and again, a consistent goal scorer. But I do think that you do see at the beginning, it was Tara who was trying to lean on her and kind of push her. But when she pushed her, when Barbara separated and went into that space, she didn't continue on into the near post to kind of stop where she was going. She just kind of was in that space behind Esme. And that was a little bit redundant given the how the play unfolded. I don't have a lot of criticisms. I know they went back and talked about it on the broadcast, and I saw some tweets calling out Tara as well. I think, yeah, ideally that's what you want to have happen, but to me, this is more Banda being Banda than Tara making a mistake.
Yeah, a real rocket of a shot too. Like it just blast past Sandy. There was no stopping it.
When that one, that's what I mean by everything happened so quickly, because when that happened, Barbara shoots so quick and she shoots with so much power that sometimes the ball is spinning and you're like, is that behind the goal or is that in the net? And it was one of those where I saw it spinning and I was like, did that go in? Oh yeah, it did. They're celebrating. So it just takes a minute to be able to be like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
So that's pretty much the first half. I think that was the 39th minute, so not a ton after that. Okay, so I mean, I think the big thing, spirit change here in the second half, is they make some substitutions right away. One is Kate Wiesner for Lucia Di Guglielmo. I think that was, Lucia's started so many matches in a row. Need to get some fresh legs out there. She'd also had kind of a silly yellow card in the first half, and I think that was, you don't want a tired player making mistakes and adding up to a red. Kate Wiesner gets in, and then Andi Sullivan for Hal Hirschfeld. And I think Hal had a good first half, especially in terms of tackles, interceptions, really good, strong defensive work. But Adrian just wanted Andi for that leadership to kind of institute a change in the tactics a little bit and get that kind of coaching performance, in addition to patience. Because I do think in the first half, the Spirit looked really rushed. Sorry, whenever they were on the ball, they looked rushed, and we're just kind of doing a lot of long balls to maybe one of their teammates, maybe not. So with Andi going out there, he wanted the team to play more compact centrally, force Orlando out wide, where I think the Spirit were a little more prepared to keep them away from the goal and just deal with them better. And I think that was successful here in the second half.
I think so as well. I was a little bit surprised that he took Hal off and not Bernal, and I kind of got it when I saw how they were set up after that. But Hal did have a really good game. She was 3 of 3 in her ground duels. One, she had 3 tackles, she had 2 clearances, an interception, 2 ball recoveries. I think she was playing very well. So, and I just think it was one of those where, again, 3 games just about in a week. And like you mentioned with Lucia, I think it was important to get her out as well because of that yellow card, which was just unnecessary. I think I was just tired, just tiredness. Like I've chased a lot of players in a week. I don't want to chase you, so I'm gonna grab your shirt. I think that's what happened there, so I do think it was smart to get her out, especially given that Orlando was going to be pressing. They're going to be trying to get the ball wide and putting fullbacks and defenders in bad positions, and you make one other foul like that, and you're out. But yeah, I do think it was interesting to see Hal be the one to come out, but I think it was smart after, and I do think that it worked out quite well. Andi being that calm presence kind of did help the team settle, and not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but when you look at the difference between XG from Orlando in the first and second half, you can see how that calm and being able to understand how to quickly get the ball away from pressure, especially when Orlando is pressing and counter-pressing, was really important. And I think Andi is pretty key to that, whether she's doing it herself or organizing the team in a way to be able to play through some of that stuff, because their XG in the first half was 1.68, and in the second half, it was 0.29. So they had 6 shots, but only 3 on target. It did not look like they were having the same opportunities they were having in the first half, and a lot of that was thanks to the subs and thanks to the Spirit being like, okay, we got to get a handle on this game. If we keep playing it the way we're playing it, this is going to become a shootout. And we've seen that we can have a 2-goal lead in a game like this and lose it really quickly. So it's to our advantage to control the game, limit their opportunities, and then we bet ourselves to be able to find those opportunities to put the ball in the back of the net and regain the lead that we lost.
All right, I just made you talk about Barbara Bandit's goal. Do you want to talk about the next goal?
Or should you?
I forget these are on YouTube, and now I'm going to be ashamed. Everyone's seeing me do like dances. It's, oh my God.
I mean, it is a good plug. If you don't watch us on one hand,
Don't do it.
We didn't really want to be on YouTube anyway, but because we've been forced to, here we are. But yeah, if you want to see Andi during a podcast, yeah, check it out. Check out the link. It's fun. And you can also see me. I look because I'm looking at like stats and I'm looking at our rundown and I'm like reliving the goals. My eyes just dart back and forth. And I was watching myself back and I was like, I look insane. Like I don't have any sustained eye contact. I'm looking here and I'm looking up and I'm looking down. Yeah, there's a lot happening that I don't love, but whatever. Now that I've drawn attention to it, let's talk about the next goal.
Cut everything.
Yeah. This was really cool to see. Again, Claudia Martinez, we're just, yeah. Yes. I think, yes, I think we are so, like we said last time, when she scored her first goal, I talked about her movement and her recognition and how much she surveys like what the defenders are doing. We talked about all that stuff. And when she scored her first goal, and this goal wasn't quite the same. She didn't have a defender that she needed to manipulate. She just needed to get in front of them, which she did. But it's just the timing of the run. And also back to the trust from Lacey Santos to play that ball in first time. I think it's just one of those balls. It wasn't like tremendous buildup. It was just like the ball's bouncing around and Santos gets a chance to put a foot on it and says, instead of controlling this, I can just put it behind the line because I trust that Claudia's onside and she's in a good position and she'll know what to do with it once she gets there. And she did. She got in front of Raffaele, which I think is not an easy thing to do. We saw her we saw her get in the way in a couple of different times of Spirit shots and Spirit buildup. But the way Claudia was able to get her behind her and then keep her there and then also line up the goalkeeper, I thought was amazing. And so cut in front of the defender to make sure that they can't come and get the ball from you. They can't like sneak attack you from the side and still possession. She made sure she cut in front of her, which is just a thing that you're always taught to do. You know, get in front, either they foul you and then it's a red card or they have to let you go. And then when she did that, she just kind of took her time, got the goalkeeper to commit to one side And if you look at the like how measured her dribbles are, like nothing got away from her in this instance. You've seen so many players in situations like this get too excited. Like I'm in space, I got to get the ball and get to it, so they take a heavy touch. She didn't take any. No touch was too heavy. It was all like set up with her stride. She was able to cut across Raffaele and then set up Morehouse and then get the ball, basically get Morehouse to commit to diving to her left and then hit the ball over her on her right side as she was diving and all her legs were just trailing her. I thought it was a tremendous goal. And really the run sets it up. The run in the pass sets it up, and then she just has to be calm in a 1v1 situation, which I think she did a good job of, because we saw that she hadn't been done a good job of that against Louisville, because I think she had a chance to score in that game late and did not. She kind of missed a 1v1. So she's learning as she's going through these games and getting these match minutes, and this was an awesome goal to see.
Yeah, really smart by her. Just and obviously good. Good performance. I was just going to mention this was another goal, like a transition goal. It started from a clearance by McKver to, I think, Sofia Cantore headed it down to Santos. Which I think there were at least two in this game that were in transition, and the Spirit have been doing great build-up play this year, but I'm like, yes, let's keep this seal too. Making sure we punish on that fast break. Yeah. Love to see it. After this, I noticed Trinity Rodman decided that she would also like to score. She had a few opportunities. She had one I think big shot that was saved. But then we got Rose Kwasi back on the field. I think she was probably tired and got that break, came in, and now refreshed. Sorry to Orlando. This is where we see the Spirit's deep bench. We get Rose Kwasi in the second half. We get Gift Monday. Just delightful. And so this was a little later after some, I think the Spirit pretty much dominant in the attack for this whole time period. But Rebecca Bernal makes a very, a long pass to Rose that she knows Rose is going to be able to run for. And Rose makes a cross that kind of bounces to Trinity Rodman. And she's able to really just make a light kick with her left foot to get it to Morehouse's right to score. Kind of redirect it in a way that Morehouse is not expecting. And get her goal for the night. This puts her at, I believe, 3 goals and 3 assists across the last 3 games, which is very good form. Love it.
In a very real sense. No, I'm not going to do that again. But no, this was the depth, being able to start Claudia, get a goal from her, get however many minutes they got over a half hour of minutes from her on the pitch. I do think that there's some maybe pressing, counter-pressing to work on, and some of that is just you're a really young player and learning some of this. It's kind of like I'm likening her development to Rose. There were a lot of times when Rose was on the ball where we were like, man, she's got to play every game, but it was some of the not being able to press at the right times, missing some of the tracking back that she needed to do as well, some of that stuff. And Claudia's in that learning phase as well. And now Rose is there and Rose can do it, so Rose deserves to start whenever the first 11 is out there. But once Claudia picks all that stuff up, it's going to be very interesting to see. It's going to be basically a lineup headache, but the best kind, because then you make a sub and you get another player on who you can trust on both sides of the ball and can also do outrageous things in attack. And this was an awesome thing. I think if you saw the Angel City Utah game last night, there's a difference between just punting the ball forward and actually punting it forward to do something. And I think that Bernal made an excellent pass, and it was a great run from Rose. Again, it's just that trust and recognition between each other where they know what they want to do and how they want to do it. And Rose got the ball, and I love her pass. I think the pass is super, super underrated in this, because if she doesn't make that pass where it is, Rodman isn't able to just do a first touch finish. Morehouse can come out and clear it. Or Trinity can't get to it first. It had to be placed well, and she placed it super, super well, and Rodman could just do her flying with her left foot, tap it past Morehouse. It was an excellent goal to see. Really shut the game down. And I think there are a couple ways to shut a game down. You can be calm in possession, and usually that works. It's more of a European approach to just shutting a game down. Really hard to do with all the attacking talent in the NWSL. And the other way is you do that and you take your chances when you get them. And I think the Spirit did a great job of generating those high XG chances and scoring when they were able to. So they go from 2-2 draw to now they're up 3-2. Limit Orlando, wait for your opportunity, and score again in 4-2. And I feel like if they kept playing, that would have kept happening, because Orlando, every time they tried, the Spirit were like, oh, caught you. And now we're going the other way. And it's just like impossible to generate a quality chance. And then eventually you give up a really good chance to the other team. And I think the Spirit put the pride in that scenario. And it was great to see.
I agree. I mean, there were 20 minutes and then a bunch of stoppage time after this, but I do think the Spirit had put the game, they'd given themselves a very nice lead at this point. I think things shifted a little after this goal because Claudia subs off and Elise comes on. So I think the Spirit were trying to be a little more defensive, and that meant they weren't getting forward as much. What?
Yeah, it was 5 back time.
Yeah, but that meant Orlando was able to attack more, which they really hadn't been able to do for the second half at all until after this goal. But I think then, the defense had kind of figured things out as well. They were still kind of able to keep them from having any really good chances. I mean, you already talked about the XG for this half. Able to see it safely out, and 4-2 win. What is that? I said 9 points, 9 days. That's crazy.
Yeah, not bad. 4 straight wins. Was it 3 clean sheets?
Yes.
And faced Emma Sears, Tema Chewinga, and Barbara Banda, and only gave up 2 goals to Banda in the last game of a 3-match, basically, week. That's not bad.
So it was actually 4 clean sheets because Sandy set a new team record for most clean sheets consecutively.
4 clean sheets. Yeah.
I forgot about that because of the Denver game.
Yep.
And that
did happen.
Now been ended the streak, but I didn't know that was a club record. So another boost for Sandy.
It's kind of wild that it's a club record, but
yeah,
I think given some of the defensive issues that we've seen, especially with the team seeming to panic in like late game moments, like the last 20-30 minutes of games, that you see just weird stuff happen. There's been a couple games now where we've seen that hasn't been the case. Now, obviously, they still have another stretch and some other really dangerous attacking teams to play, but to go through that run of attackers and be able to keep them quiet for the most part. Again, Banda brace. It was the last one of the 3-game week, and even though you prefer her not score those goals, especially back to back when you're already up 2-0, like, I'm not going to say that's a great thing, but if you're looking at it in totality, you gave up 2 goals and no assists from Banda, Sears, and Chewinga in a week. I'll take it.
I'm fine with that. I also want to say the Spirit, struggled through being saddled with winless in 4 games. Now they get to reclaim that and say undefeated in 7. That's pretty wild.
It is wild, and it's funny to think of those moments as like adding to this streak, because this team was playing so differently. They weren't scoring goals, they were preventing goals, but they weren't scoring goals. And so you look at it now as part of this run, and you're like, well, yeah, defensively they've been ahead of the game, and now the attack is here, and now, we have a complete team that looks pretty damn scary.
I'm very pleased to see it. After this, I think, well, do we have any more shout outs or anything for this game? We've covered a lot of people.
We have. And we've been going long, which we knew we would. In fact, when I think we both were doing a rundown, and then I saw your rundown, and I was like, oh yeah, we have to talk about Louisville. Whoops, I completely forgot that game existed. It was like a Wednesday night, 1-0, get out of there with 3 points. Nothing, like, you didn't have any stress from that game in terms of Louisville putting the ball in the back of the net like they did last time. So, like, all right, on to Orlando. And my brain very much did an on to Orlando situation where we were talking about what we were going to wrap up. And then I was like, oh, this is going to be a long podcast. And here we are. But no, I do think that just like defensively, the entire defensive unit, and that's like all the fullbacks managing these players, coming in and playing different roles and defending these sorts of players that are just very, very dangerous. I think Sandy, we already highlighted her, but she's had a really great run. She'll be upset about the 2 goals, but quite honestly, the fact that she made crucial saves, like this game could have been 3-3, could have been, it could have remained 2-2, whatever. but, you know, got the win out of it, made sure that Orlando didn't do a lot. And that's part of how she's communicating well with her defense. I think Bernal, Hirschfeld, and Santos at midfield is looking so good and so composed, and they're understanding what each other do and want to do. We're seeing ball progression happen as well, whether the Spirit go long or whether they're able to play through and then break a line. We're seeing multiple ways of attack. We're seeing Lacey Santos get assists and goals. We're seeing Trinity Rodman on an amazing run of goal contributions as well. Sofia Cantore got in on the goal scoring. Like I think you could shout out pretty much everybody given this run where it's not just the wins, it's been the performances and the goal scoring and how they've limited the opposition. I think all of it has been very, very positive and looks very, very good for the future.
I agree. I'm excited. There actually aren't that many more games before the summer break. This season is so weird in the little chunks it's in, but I'm really excited to see how those few go before we get a little reset and just more mystery. But I'm gonna kind of wrap us up if that's okay. They get a break, a full week off. Imagine
a week
that.
of training.
I mean, they probably get to sleep.
The post game when Adrian just yells Tuesday off. Everybody got really excited.
That makes sense. I wonder why it's Tuesday, not Monday. But oh well.
I think Monday's a typical recovery day. So I think it's like you have your probably travel back day on Sunday, and then you have your recovery day where you come in and get your treatment, whether it's massages or whatever you need to do. Some players who didn't play, maybe they do a little bit of cardio stuff or whatever. And then the next day you usually get back to training. And so I think Tuesday means they get a day to kind of to themselves. They don't have to come in, they have to do recovery. Some players will probably still do some recovery if they're recovering from an injury, but for the most part, to yourself. Enjoy it.
Look, they deserve it. This was a long week.
We should all take Tuesday off in solidarity. It's been
Actually. It's a great idea. But the next game is Sunday, May 10th against Seattle Reign. They're away in Seattle. And it is at 7 p.m. on Victory Plus. So I think we'll be back after that to talk about that game. Bye for now.